It happened on a quiet Sunday evening, the kind where the world seems softer, slower. My daughter Lila had invited us out to dinner. It was supposed to be a celebration. Her husband Derek had just gotten a promotion. I remember standing in front of the mirror, adjusting my old jacket, trying to make it look newer than it was. My hands trembled slightly, but not from age, from wanting to look presentable. Proud, like a father who'd done something right. The restaurant was one of those fancy ones I'd never choose myself. Dim lights, waiters with white gloves, glasses that sparkled like they belonged to someone else's life. Lila looked beautiful, radiant even. But the moment Derek saw me, I caught that flicker, the one that says, "You don't belong here." He greeted me with that practiced charm he wore like cologne. "Mr. Collins, glad you could make it," he said, as if he were doing me a favor. I smiled, pretending not to notice. I told myself it was fine. This night was about family, about love, but the warmth I hoped for never came. Dinner started politely enough. Small talk, laughter that didn't quite reach the eyes. Then came the bill. Derek leaned back, grinning. "Oh, let's see if the old man wants to treat us tonight," he joked. Lila laughed, though hers was nervous, a quiet plea for him to stop. But he didn't. I reached for my wallet, my heart pounding. I'd planned to pay for dessert, not a small fortune's worth of steak and champagne. My fingers brushed over the few bills inside. Not enough. The air shifted. Derek noticed. His smirk widened. "No worries, sir. I got this. Wouldn't want you to overextend." The words cut deeper than he knew. Lila's eyes fell to her plate. No one spoke after that. Just the sound of forks clinking, the quiet humiliation thick enough to choke on. I smiled weakly, whispered a thank you, and excused myself early. Outside, the cold hit my face like truth. I stood there, watching them through the window, laughing again now that I was gone. That was the moment I realized something painful. I wasn't family to him. I was an inconvenience, a reminder of where my daughter came from. That night, I walked home instead of calling a cab. Each step felt heavier than the last. I told myself I'd never give him that satisfaction again, of seeing me small. But what I didn't know then was that life has a way of circling back. I turned back, my hand resting on the doorframe. The restaurant was quiet, except for the faint sound of a piano in the background, the same melody that once played during my humiliation. Only this time it felt different, softer, lighter. I said after a pause. "Not at first," I walked back to him slowly. For a long time I carried that night like a stone in my chest. Every time I thought about it, I could still hear you laugh. But forgiveness, it isn't for the other person. It's for the one who's been carrying the weight. He looked up at me, eyes glistening, a man stripped of all the arrogance he used to wear like armor. "I lost everything," he murmured. I nodded. Sometimes that's what it takes to see clearly. For a moment, we just stood there, two men who'd once mirrored each other in pride, now separated by humility and time. I placed my hand on his shoulder, not in pity, but in understanding. "Take care of yourself, Derek," I said quietly, then turned to leave. Outside, the evening air felt different, cool, forgiving. I could smell rain coming, and for the first time in years, it didn't feel heavy. It felt like renewal. When I got home, Lila was there, sitting on the porch waiting. She looked up, smiling softly. "You saw him, didn't you?" she asked. I nodded. "I did. Did you say what you wanted to say?" I smiled faintly. "More than that. I said what I needed to say." She stood and hugged me, tighter than she ever had before, and in that embrace I realized the truth I'd been blind to all along. Revenge doesn't heal, but understanding does. What once felt like defeat had become my quiet victory. Later that night, as I sat by the window watching the rain begin to fall, I thought about how life has a way of returning lessons we never asked for, not to punish us, but to shape us. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in proving someone wrong, it's in living long enough to see how right you were to walk away. I closed my eyes, listening to the rhythm of the rain, feeling lighter than I had in years. Because sometimes walking away isn't silence, it's peace. I walked over, steady and calm. He looked up, his mouth opening slightly, as if searching for a version of me that no longer existed. "Mr. Collins," he said finally, voice lower now. No smugness, just fatigue. I nodded. "Derek." He gestured to the seat across from him. "Please sit." The irony didn't escape me. The last time we'd shared a table, he'd made me feel small enough to disappear. Now sitting across from him, I felt something shift. Not pride, not vengeance, just a quiet understanding that time humbles everyone eventually. He cleared his throat. I didn't expect to see you here." "I could say the same," I replied. My voice surprised me. Calm, even. Not the voice of a man who still carried that night like a scar. He gave a dry laugh, eyes falling to the untouched plate in front of him. "Things haven't exactly been great lately. Business failed. Lila won't talk to me. Guess I deserve that." I stayed silent, let the weight of his words hang in the air. Then the waiter arrived with the bill. Derek's hand trembled slightly as he picked it up, then froze. "I might have left my card in the car," he muttered. The same restaurant, the same scene, only now the roles had reversed. For a moment, I just watched him. The glass beside him shimmered in the low light, and I remembered how mine had once done the same, when my hands had trembled. I could have walked away, could have let him feel every ounce of that humiliation, but instead, I reached for my wallet. "It's fine," I said quietly, placing my card on the table. "I got this." His eyes widened, disbelief flickering behind them. "You don't have to." "I know," I interrupted softly, "but I want to." The silence that followed was heavier than any apology he could have offered. When the waiter returned with the receipt, Derek whispered, "I'm sorry for that night, for everything." I nodded. "I know." As I stood to leave, I looked at him one last time. The man who once laughed at me now sat humbled, silent, staring down at the table like it was holding all his regrets. I didn't feel triumphant, I just felt free. But just as I reached the door, I heard a voice behind me. "Mr. Collins," he called softly, "how did you manage to forgive me?" I stopped. Years passed. Seasons blurred into one another, and I learned to live smaller. I sold my old truck, started tending a small garden behind my apartment. The kind of life where silence becomes your only company. Leela called sometimes, always brief, always distracted. "Dad, Derek's been working non-stop," she'd say. And I'd force a smile through the phone, pretending I couldn't hear the distance in her voice. I never brought up that dinner. Never mentioned the look Derek gave me. That smug half-smile that said he'd won something. Pride can be a strange thing. It can make you hold your tongue even when it's cutting you from the inside. Then one morning, while sipping cheap coffee in my kitchen, I heard a knock. When I opened the door, it was Leela, eyes red, voice trembling. "Dad, can I stay here for a while?" That was how I found out Derek had left her. Took the savings, the house, everything. She sat at my old table, crying softly, and I just listened. No judgment, no anger, just the kind of quiet that carries all the words you can't say. When she finally looked up, she whispered, "I thought he loved me." I wanted to tell her that love doesn't humiliate, it doesn't measure worth in money, but I stayed silent. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any sermon. Over the months, she rebuilt herself piece by piece, found work, laughed again, even started helping me in the garden. We became closer than we'd been in years. One evening, as the sun dipped low, she said, "Dad, I want to make it up to you. All the times I didn't stand up for you. I told her there was nothing to make up for, but the truth is, hearing her say that, it healed something I didn't even realize was still broken. Then one afternoon, while running errands, I walked into the same restaurant. Different people, same soft piano music. I was about to leave when I saw him. Derek. He was sitting alone in the corner, wearing the same expensive suit, but something was off. His shoulders slumped, eyes tired. A bill sat in front of him, untouched. Our eyes met. Recognition flashed across his face, and for the first time he looked unsure, vulnerable. I almost walked away, but something inside me told me to stay. So I did,